Hey guys, welcome back to Fortnite. My name is eNtaK, and today I wanted to share with you my top 10 mistakes that I think new players make when they first come into Fortnite Battle Royale. If you guys are new to the channel and you have yet to subscribe, definitely make sure to hit that sub button and the notification bell to be notified of when I make a Fortnite video. Also, if you guys have an epic clip that you want to share with the world, check the description below. There's a form down there where you can go to and you can submit your clips to be featured in a Battle Royale epic moments highlight video that is hopefully going to be coming very soon. Now, these are my top 10 mistakes that I think most players make when they first come into Fortnite. You might have other ones that you know of, but these, in my opinion, are mine. When you first start out in game, it could definitely seem kind of daunting and hard to pick up at first, but the more you play, the more you realize it's not that hard. It's pretty easy, actually, and it's quite easy to learn the best ways to play, whether that be the best ways to build or the best places to go for loot or just general tactics. Let me know in the comments below what you think are some of the biggest mistakes that people make, or if you have any tips that new players should know about. The number one mistake that I think most players who first start out in the game make right away is not avoiding other players or landing in major locations where there are many other people. Now, obviously, you're not going to know every single place unless you're watching guide videos or something like that. You're not going to know these places. You're not going to know where the hot zones are. You might be able to kind of figure out, oh, it's a big city. There might be a lot of people there because there's a lot of potential for loot. So you might want to stay away from those areas. As I said in my top 10 beginner tips video, when you first start out in game, to me, it's very important to land in safe locations. While you're just learning the game, you want to avoid landing near other players so you can take the game somewhat slow at first. Later, landing near other players will help you hone your skills and make you a better fighter. Learning these hot zones in the cities and things like that will help you either know where you can go to quickly engage other players or where not to go in order to avoid landing near so many people. Mistake number two that I think people make is looting too slowly or taking too much time to sort through your loot. It's very helpful to have in mind like what you're looking for and what you want to get, and then also like having these various weapons slotted correctly. It helps to slot your items in the same slots every time if you can, obviously, in order to get used to how to switch between them very easily. Basically, you're trying to create muscle memory and know like, oh, if I hit this button, I'm going to switch to my shotgun, and as a result, you become more efficient and increase your reaction time. Now, also, along with that comes in key bindings, and that's worth exploring. Like I said in my top 10 tips, explore different key bindings, try different things, and see if anything else might work out a little better for you. Number three is totally dependent on how much you play this game and how familiar you are with the locations. And this is something that you're not going to obviously know when you first come into the game, and it's going to take some time to get to know unless you're like watching guide videos or something like that. But the third mistake that I had listed is that people don't go to key places to get loot. You have to have a game plan. You got to know where things are, where you can go. You don't want to land out in the middle of nowhere with a shack where you're going to get a pistol and like barely any ammo and that's it, and you got like a ways to walk before a city. You get to a city and it's already looted or something like that. You got to have a game plan. Know the locations and know loot routes. Know these paths that you can form. Know where you're going to go or where the best place for you to go is depending on how the bus flies. That's also very key because sometimes you can't even make it to a location unless you coast the whole way. But I mean, you can get to pretty much wherever you want to go, but it might take you a very long time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Learning the locations will also help you learn where good loot spots are, these challenge objectives that you're going to find, and great spots for late game base building. Now, obviously that depends on where the circle is, but the more familiar you are with the map, the more you're going to know, oh, there's this nice cliffside here that I can, or hillside that I can build up on, or there's, you know, a bunch of different things that I can use to my advantage when I'm moving up on somebody. Obviously, that's completely up to the circle and where it pushes you, but that doesn't change the fact that the more familiar you are with the map, the better chances you have of overall surviving. The number four thing that I put down is not gathering resources. As I stated in the top 10 beginner tips video, it is very important to gather resources. Gather, gather, gather. You will need to build bases or various structures in game. to help you win. It's very important. Like, it's 100% vitally important, because there are other players who are amazing at building and will build way faster than you, and if you can't at least compete with them a little bit, you're gonna die every single time. If you have no resources or not enough resources, you won't be able to build. You won't be able to build effectively, and you don't need to really go overboard with how much you gather, because you're going to gather a bunch from fallen opponents as time goes on, but you need to gather something, especially if you don't have anything towards the end, because you're going to need cover. It's very important to have cover, because people will whittle you down to nothing, and if you don't have cover to protect you, you're definitely going to die. The number 5 thing that I put down is not building appropriately, or barely building, which goes with number 4. Some new players rarely ever build, as it's somewhat foreign to them to really do, and it's not necessarily all that easy at first. The number 1 thing that I recommend when it comes to this is figure out if the key bindings that are default will work for you. If there are better things that you can do, bind different key bindings to make them work to your advantage, to give you like a more natural feel for how you build. Like, everything for me is very quick, because I have small hands, and so I kind of have to, you know, get the keys really quickly. So like Q and F and C and my right mouse button and my right thumb button, you know, like I've got things mapped in such a way that it's really easy for me to be rather effective at building. As I said in number 4, quick building is essential in this game, and it will make or break you in a match. Building quickly, if you're getting shot at, building that quick cover will also help greatly. Also, building too high or building very weak structures can result in you getting shot out of the sky and falling to your death. And so you don't want to build like massive structures or really weird structures or something like that. You want to build very efficiently, but also be smart about how you build, so that way you don't like get shot out. If you build ramps up to the sky and then build a base on the top, all anyone has to do is shoot out any of those little stairs on the way up, and that thing is coming down. You'll notice great players make double thick stairways or squares with stairs inside them to protect from explosives and various shots, and they basically aim to provide multiple layers of security, so if one thing goes, the other thing's still standing. Building bases with holes at the top, like little divots, are also very prone to like getting nades thrown in or something like that. So you got to keep in mind like how you build your structures. You don't want to like let explosives just come flying in and destroy you. Keep in mind that there are explosives in Fortnite, and people are not afraid to spam them. A base can get destroyed in mere seconds. For number 6, I put not using the appropriate weapon in certain situations. Using a shotgun at long range isn't going to work for obvious reasons. You can get a couple hits on them or something like that, but it's not going to work necessarily. And then the reverse is true, not using a shotgun in a close quarter situation, but instead using like a sniper rifle, or you're trying to get no scopes and you're not good at it or something, or using an assault rifle. I mean, that's not bad, but those can pose problems. Sometimes it might be all you have and it's your only option, obviously, but it will be very hard to achieve a kill with something that isn't suited for a specific situation. Now, obviously, that's not saying that you can't do it. I mean, obviously, some people are freaking amazing at using sniper rifles and getting no scopes up close and things like that, but obviously for a new player that might be kind of hard to do. Number 7 is one that even I've found myself like a couple times like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. It's not knowing when it's best to engage an enemy. If you're not good at long range shots or something like that, obviously you don't want to engage the enemy until you get closer. You don't want to reveal yourself, and so they turn around and they shoot at you. You want to like get into a really good situation to where you can engage them. Even if you're an amazing shooter at games, and even then I have to say, this is not necessarily true. Like even if you're an amazing shooter in games, you might have a hard time with accuracy in Fortnite. And I would go so far as to say that you still will, regardless of how well you are in other games, because accuracy is a major thing in this game, and knowing how the gun plays is a huge like issue that some people have. This isn't PUBG or Battlefield or COD or whatever. It's a very unique game and has a very unique playstyle, and learning how to properly handle the various gun mechanics is hugely important. And so, not being aware of how various weaponry works right away is going to, negatively play against you, but that is something that you will also learn over time. I'm not entirely sure why I keep doing this, but my number 8 one is not being aware of your surroundings. It's actually my number 1 tip. Like, be aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness is my number 1 tip. Like, and I don't know why I keep putting it so late in the videos, but not being aware of your surroundings is a common mistake that people make. Not being aware of where the storm is and where the storm's going, or not being aware of your surroundings in general. Having situational awareness is key in this game if you want to survive. Like hearing and listening and knowing where people are or could potentially be is a huge thing. But not knowing where the storm is or how close it is could also result in your timely demise. I mean, there are many things working against you here. You are able to survive in the storm if you do it right, but it is obviously not recommended. And so, like, you know, being very aware of everything around you, knowing the locations, knowing where people might be hiding at, knowing where like elevation is and where somebody could be sniping from. There's a lot of things that go into this, but not being aware of your surroundings is a huge mistake that people make. And so be constantly vigilant, be aware, be aware. Number 9 is a pretty big one, I think, and one that a lot of people allude to a lot, I think. I hear people talking about this all the time in streams and stuff. It's not knowing how to jump and glide effectively to hit your location correctly. Because what you want to do is, when in Fortnite, you want to be the first person on the ground in a specific spot in order to get the loot before others do, for various obvious reasons. Making it to the area first can result in you being able to easily take anyone else out who might land there because you have the weapons already. It's also very important to dive straight down in certain situations and then glide into locations. Sometimes it's best to hit things at an angle, or sometimes it forces you to do different things based on how the bus route is going. So you can control your flight very well, and even right into specific spots where a chest might be. Taking an extra 5 seconds in that situation where somebody else is dropping in the same spot might result in your death. Like, I can recall one situation where I was jumping into the treasure map location. There's this big massive tree there. I got to the chest first. I looted it, killed the guy that was right there who was also trying to loot the same thing. I mean, we were down there neck and neck right at the exact same time, but I was a little bit ahead because I jumped properly. Also, there's other locations on the map based on the bus route where I can jump right to the exact same spot every single time, right onto like a balcony perfectly every time to go into a door and get a chest, because I know I figured out how to jump in certain situations. Now, I'm not obviously 100% perfect at this, but it's something that I think a lot of new players make, just like jumping randomly and landing in random fields or something. You got to know how to jump and glide to these best locations, and then obviously that ties into knowing the locations as well. Number 10 was a really big one when I first started out in this game, and it's not being aware of your ammo count or like reloading. So keep an eye on your ammo and your reloading. Like, you want to have a weapon that has stuff in it. You don't want to be trying to shoot at somebody when you got nothing in it. Having a weapon out that doesn't have the appropriate amount of ammo can obviously result in your death. This plays right into being accurate with your shots, but obviously you can't always control that situation, especially if your nerves are running wild when you first start out in the game. It's best to learn to control all of these things. Take it easy, take it slow, breathe, relax. You might not be able to do it right away, but it will come in time. Reloading and keeping an eye on your ammo is an easy thing to do, though. So those are my top 10 mistakes, and there are plenty more out there. I'd love to hear these tips if you guys have them. Comment those in the comment section below. But I'll give you a few more bonus tips before we end this video, just as kind of like an additional thing, like, oh yeah, by the way, do these things too, because they're going to definitely help you. So my next tip is a huge one, in my opinion. I mean, it's like vitally essential for playing this game. Wear headphones and don't ignore sounds. Another mistake people make is not wearing headphones and ignoring the sounds around you. Fortnite is very rich with audio cues. Knowing where people are is obviously key. You can hear people running, hear gunfire in the distance so you know where to go. You can distinguish between your wall that you just built and someone else building stairs to come up to you and jump in from above, or even hearing a rocket that's traveling right at your face. Obviously, you gotta know these sounds. Wear your headphones and learn how to react quickly. And the last tip I would say is not ever experimenting with your sensitivity or key bindings. I alluded to that at the beginning of the video, but it's very important, I think. You know, experiment. Mess with your sensitivity, mess with your key bindings. The default controls may not be best for you. And I highly recommend experimenting with different ones to find what makes you natural feeling. Experiment with what fits you best. Make sure to not switch it too often, though, because you want to get perfect with the ones that you have. You want to perfect these things. Like for me, I'll tell you right now, it's kind of an issue for when I switch between PvP and PvE, because of how I have the gun placement in PvE. When I switch with my thumb buttons, it's not the right thing, and I'm used to like pulling out a different weapon. And so like I'm trying to get used to both situations, and it just like maybe will take me configuring different weaponry in PvE or whatever. But essentially, you don't want to switch too often because you want to get really used to playing with a specific set, so that way you're actually good with it and you can tell, oh, okay, this actually does fit me well, or this is not working out, I need to change some things up. If you've come over from another game, this is also very important. You may want to find what you think is appropriate in terms of sensitivity actually is. And I think I just messed that sentence up royally. But mess around with the controls and try to find what works best for you, because what you had before might not work very well in Fortnite. So guys, that's it for the video. Let me know your top mistakes you think players make, and let me know what you think of this video. Also, let me know what you think of these guide videos in general. Make sure to subscribe, like I said, for more Fortnite, as there is plenty more on the way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.